Have you ever stopped for a moment and wondered why, despite Apple being the most iconic and financially powerful tech company on the planet, it is still losing the global smartphone race to Android in a way that most people don't even notice? It's a quiet loss, a loss that doesn't show up in Apple events, doesn't show up in their marketing, and definitely doesn't show up in the hype surrounding the latest iPhone. But it very clearly shows up in the long-term market numbers, because behind Apple's polished advertisements and premium status, a slow but significant shift is happening. A shift so subtle that the average consumer never thinks about it, yet so impactful that it is shaping the future of smartphones right now. Today, we're going to explore this shift deeply. We're going to break down the hidden reason Apple is losing to Android, why this loss matters, and how it reveals something much bigger about the global tech industry.
Every single year, millions of people stand in lines outside Apple stores. Social media gets flooded with unboxing videos. Influencers promote the newest features, and Apple proudly announces record-breaking revenue numbers that make headlines everywhere. But beneath all of this excitement, something surprising is happening. If you zoom out and look at the smartphone landscape from a truly global perspective, not just the US, not just Europe, but the whole world, you notice something shocking. Apple is winning the spotlight, but Android is winning the planet, and the gap between them is not shrinking. It is expanding faster than ever. Why is this happening? What is the real, deep structural reason Apple is struggling in major global regions where Android seems to dominate without even trying? Let's break it all down, calmly, clearly, and logically.
To understand the real picture, we must separate two things: profit share and market share. Apple dominates global smartphone profits. In some quarters, Apple takes home 80% or more of the entire world's smartphone profits, which is mind-blowing when you consider how many Android companies exist. But market share, the number of users, tells a completely different story. Here, Android absolutely crushes Apple with around 70 to 72% global share, while Apple remains stuck around 15 to 20% depending on the region. This isn't a coincidence. This isn't a temporary trend. This is the natural outcome of a much bigger, deeper reason, a reason most people don't see. And once you understand this reason, the entire smartphone industry starts making sense. Apple's business model simply does not fit the economic structure of the majority of the world. Not because people dislike iPhones, not because iPhones are bad, but because in many countries, the price of an iPhone is equal to an entire month or 2 months of salary, sometimes even more. In richer countries like the US, UK, Germany, Japan, and UAE, the average person has access to financing, credit cards, monthly installment plans, or carrier deals that make a $1,000 iPhone feel like a $30 monthly purchase. But in countries like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Indonesia, Brazil, Nigeria, Egypt, and much of Africa and South America, financing is limited, interest rates are high, and the average income is far lower. So while millions of people admire the iPhone, owning one is simply not practical or economically feasible. And because Apple refuses to make truly budget-friendly phones, it automatically removes itself from the majority of the global market. Android fills this gap effortlessly, offering phones from $80 budget devices to $200 mid-range models to $1,000 flagships. Apple, by choice, cannot operate here. This single structural limitation is the biggest reason Android dominates global numbers. Everyone knows Apple's ecosystem is incredibly powerful. Your iPhone connects seamlessly with your Mac, AirPods, Apple Watch, and iPad. Everything syncs perfectly. But this ecosystem has a hidden cost. Apple controls everything: hardware, software, services, accessories. This gives Apple quality and consistency, but it also creates an environment where Apple cannot offer cheaper devices or allow other brands to innovate within its ecosystem. Android is the opposite. It's open. It's flexible. It allows competition. Samsung, Xiaomi, Oppo, Vivo, Motorola, Realme, OnePlus all create Android phones in different price categories with different innovations and different features tailored for different markets. And because all of them are competing with each other, the market naturally pushes prices lower and features higher. Apple's closed ecosystem gives it control, but also pulls it away from global scalability. If you study global sales data, you'll notice something very important. The majority of smartphone customers buy phones in the $200 to $500 range. This is the real battlefield. This is where the world upgrades. This is where people spend their money. And Apple has no real product in this category. The iPhone SE exists, but let's be honest, it uses old designs, old displays, older cameras and lacks the modern features people expect, especially in developing regions. Meanwhile, Android mid-range devices offer 120 Hz displays, multiple cameras, large batteries, super fast charging, AMOLED screens, AI features, better value overall. Apple, by refusing to enter this crucial mid-range category, is essentially giving Android full control. This is one of the biggest reasons Apple's market share has barely grown in the last decade.
When we talk about innovation, people in the West think of AI features, camera upgrades, and processor improvements. But in countries across Asia, Africa, and South America, innovation means something very different. People want dual SIM phones, huge battery life, extremely fast charging, expandable storage, strong durability, region-specific features, better repairability. Android manufacturers excel here. They innovate quickly, respond to customer needs, and release new features every year. Apple works on its own slow timeline. It takes years to adopt features that Android users often get immediately. This difference widens the gap even further in emerging economies, where practical innovation matters more than Apple's premium polish.
In many emerging markets, repairing a phone is a bigger decision than buying it. People want phones that are cheap to fix and easy to maintain. Android wins completely in this area. Apple repairs are expensive, heavily restricted, and require official service centers, which many countries simply do not have. Even a small screen replacement can cost as much as a budget Android phone. Meanwhile, Android parts are widely available, cheaper, and easier to replace. This makes Android far more sustainable for long-term use in countries with lower income levels. And when long-term cost matters, Apple becomes a luxury, not a practical choice.
Now, here's a fact almost nobody talks about. Apple's dominance relies heavily on the US market. In the US, iPhone market share crosses 60%, but in countries like India, Indonesia, Mexico, and Brazil, Apple's share is often below 5 to 10%. This creates a structural imbalance. If US growth slows, or if American consumers become more price-sensitive, Apple's global performance risks a sharp decline. Android doesn't have this weakness. Its users are spread across every continent and every income level. This gives Android unmatched global stability.
For years, Apple has been raising prices steadily, and for years, people have been happily paying. But now, global economic conditions have changed. Inflation is rising. Salaries aren't increasing as fast. People are more financially cautious. Smartphone upgrade cycles are becoming longer. A large number of Apple users now keep their iPhones for 3 to 5 years instead of upgrading every 1 or 2 years. This decline in upgrade frequency reduces Apple's growth potential. Meanwhile, Android gives customers cheaper, feature-rich options that feel more worth the money. Apple's premium-only strategy is reaching its natural ceiling, and this is showing up in global market trends.
The world is entering the era of AI-powered smartphones. Android companies like Samsung, Google, Xiaomi, and others are moving rapidly, introducing AI photo editing, AI text generation, AI translation, AI voice features, on-device intelligence, and smart UI interactions. Apple is catching up, but far more slowly. Its strict privacy rules and closed system make fast AI integration harder. Younger users around the world care deeply about features, productivity tools, creativity, and AI enhancements, and Android is giving them these upgrades much faster. This generational shift is another reason Android is gaining momentum.
So what is the true hidden reason Apple is losing to Android? It's not about specs, it's not about speed, it's not about brand loyalty. The real reason is structural. Apple built itself to win the premium market. Android built itself to win the entire world. Apple's strategy is brilliant for profits, but extremely limited for global reach. Android's strategy is messy, diverse, and chaotic, but it scales perfectly across every income level, every region, and every demand category. Apple is not losing because it's weak. Apple is losing because it has consciously chosen a smaller battlefield. And unless Apple changes its pricing model, product strategy, or ecosystem philosophy, Android's dominance in global market share will only grow.
Apple creates some of the best smartphones ever made, but the global smartphone industry is not only about having the best, it's about making technology accessible, affordable, and adaptable to all kinds of users. Android understood this long before anyone else. Apple still prioritizes control, exclusivity, and premium experiences. Both strategies work, both strategies succeed, but only one of them scales to the entire world. And that is why, beneath all the headlines and hype, Android continues
continues winning the global race quietly, steadily, and undeniably.